We're here to talk about depth of field. Now, this is a great use of cinematography to actually change how it is that you shoot. One of the things that you see this a lot in, of course, is still photography, but it still works for cinematography and for videography. And so depth of field is great because it allows you to focus your viewer's attention on something or hide something in the background. A lot of times where you see this is rack focuses, where we go from shifting the subject and the center of focus to one person to another, which draws the viewer's attention to the other side of the screen. Now with that, we're really looking at the exposure triangle to perform this. But let's first talk about how we get that. When we're talking about depth of field, what we're talking about is point A to point B and what's in focus between them. So the wider the depth of field, the more stuff is in focus. The lower the depth of field, the less things are in focus. So this really is a measurement of how wide things will be in focus. And so when you're doing this, you have to remember that the smaller number, right, of the aperture that you have, or the wider open that it is, so say f2.2, which is a very wide open aperture, the shallower the depth of field. And the more wider the depth of field that you want, the more you have to close down the aperture. And so we're actually going to take a look at this. So production, assemble. Now here we have Thanos and Harley sitting on the bench, or on the stool here. And so we're going to take a look at this camera here. And you can see that I pretty much have them already in focus as I unlock the camera. And so here, both of them are in focus already. You know, I can zoom in to Thanos, and you can see he's in focus, and you can see Harley's in focus. And so they are. And right now, my aperture is at 5.6. Now, again, I can change this, as I told you, so that my iris is going to be 1.8. And of course, what you're going to see here is that now, of course, they're overexposed. So what I'm going to do is change my shutter from 1/60 to 1/250. In here, what you'll notice is I can focus on Harley. And while it looks like they're sort of in focus, you'll notice that Thanos actually isn't in focus. And so it's one way to show depth of field. I've now closed the depth of field on that stool, this large stool that you see here. I can actually change how much is in depth. Now, of course, the farther I go back, so if you look at the blue curtain, you see how much it's out of focus. All right? And then I can shift focus between Harley and Thanos. And so those are the ways that we can see depth of field change. So when you're doing depth of field, think about what you might want to draw your characters or your audience's attention to from your character to background, or from your background to reveal something like another character there. So this has been depth of field.